High above Earth's atmosphere, the Xenthari observation vessel maintained its position behind the moon's shadow. Supreme Commander Valthek stood before the central viewing screen, his crystalline features reflecting the soft blue glow of the planet below. 3 cycles of careful observation had led to this moment, and the data streaming across his neural interface confirmed what their initial scans had suggested. Earth's defenses were pathetically primitive. "Tell me again why this species concerns you, Science Director." Valthek's voice carried the distinctive harmonic resonance of the warrior caste. Behind him, Science Director Zenri activated a holographic display showing Earth's historical data. "Supreme Commander, while their current defensive capabilities are indeed limited, the humans' rate of technological advancement is unprecedented." Zenri's smaller frame moved gracefully through the 3-dimensional display of Earth's development. They progressed from primitive flight to rudimentary space travel in less than a century. Their adaptability indices are off our charts. Valthek waved a crystalline appendage dismissively, and yet they have no planetary shield, no unified defense grid, not even basic orbital weapons platforms. The Council grows impatient with these observations. "We need their resources, particularly their water-rich world." "Which is precisely why I propose we deploy the Whispers," Zenri said, bringing up another hologram showing microscopic, crystalline organisms. "Traditional conquest would damage the very resources we seek. The Whispers will allow us to claim Earth with minimal destruction." On the planet below, Dr. Sarah Chen was having a very unusual morning. The behavioral patterns she'd been tracking in her lab at the Global Defense Initiative's Biological Research Division made no sense. As she reviewed the latest data, her coffee grew cold, forgotten on her cluttered desk. "Run it again, AI," she commanded the lab's AI system. The holographic display refreshed, showing the same puzzling results. Over the past 3 months, there had been subtle but consistent changes in the behavior of various species across the globe. Migratory patterns shifted, predator-prey relationships altered, and most concerningly, there were reports of usually solitary animals exhibiting swarm-like behavior. "Analysis complete," Dr. Chen, Araya's calm voice announced. "Confidence level in pattern correlation, 98.7%. These behavioral changes are not random." Sarah ran her fingers through her short black hair, a habit when deep in thought. "Show me the neural scan comparisons." The display shifted, revealing brain activity patterns from different species. Something caught her eye, a recurring wave pattern present in all affected animals. "RIA, isolate that signal and enhance." The pattern expanded, its complexity becoming clear. Sarah felt her heart rate increase as she realized what she was looking at. This isn't natural evolution. This is programming. At that moment, her secure comm unit chimed. "Dr. Chen, your presence is required in the emergency briefing room immediately." General Miranda Hayes's voice carried an urgency Sarah had never heard before. "Bring your latest findings." As Sarah gathered her data tablets, she didn't know she was about to become part of humanity's first line of defense against an invasion, unlike anything in Earth's history. Above, the Xenthari vessel began deploying millions of microscopic crystalline organisms into Earth's upper atmosphere. "The Whispers will integrate themselves into Earth's biosphere," Zenri explained to Valthek as they watched the deployment. "They'll establish a control network using Earth's own fauna as vectors. Within 6 months, we'll have complete ecological control of the planet. The humans won't even know what's happening until it's too late." Valthek observed the operation with satisfaction. "And you're certain they can't detect these devices?" "The Whispers operate on principles far beyond human science," Zenri assured him. "They would need to make 100 years of advancement in biological technology just to recognize what they're seeing. By then, Earth's entire ecosystem will be under our control." In the GDI briefing room, Sarah stood before a panel of military and scientific leaders, her findings displayed on the main screen. "These patterns shouldn't exist," she explained, pointing to the neural wave data. We're seeing coordinated behavioral changes across multiple species, connected by a signal we can't explain with current biological models. General Hayes leaned forward, her expression grave. Could this be related to the anomalous readings we've been getting from our deep space arrays? Sarah's eyes widened as new connections formed in her mind. Show me that data. As the deep space readings appeared alongside her biological data, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The patterns matched perfectly. We're not just looking at unusual animal behavior, she announced to the stunned room. We're looking at the first stage of an invasion. Something or someone is attempting to hijack Earth's biosphere. The room erupted in discussion, but Sarah's mind was already racing ahead to the next question. How do you fight an enemy that's turning nature itself against you? In orbit, Valthek received the first progress report from the Whispers. Integration proceeding as planned, he noted with satisfaction. Earth's primitive defenders won't even know what hit them. But he had made the same mistake many would-be conquerors had made before, underestimating humanity's greatest weapon: their ability to observe, adapt, and overcome. The silent invasion had begun, but Earth's response would soon shake the foundations of the galaxy. The first signs were subtle enough that most people missed them. Birds began flying in unnaturally perfect formations. Insects moved in synchronized waves across continents. Even household pets started exhibiting strange, coordinated behaviors. But Dr. Sarah Chen and her team at the Global Defense Initiative knew these weren't coincidences. They were watching an alien invasion unfold in slow motion. 3 weeks after her initial discovery, Sarah stood in her expanded laboratory, now bustling with researchers from around the world. Holographic displays showed live feeds from every continent, tracking the spread of what they now called the synchronicity event. The neural pattern is evolving, she explained to General Hayes, who had made the lab her temporary command center. Whatever these microscopic controllers are, they're learning, adapting to Earth's biology faster than we anticipated. On the main screen, footage showed a pack of wolves moving with mechanical precision through a forest in Siberia. Their movements weren't just coordinated, they were geometrically perfect, like pieces on a chessboard. They're establishing a network, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, a quantum computing specialist, pointed out. Each affected creature becomes a node in what appears to be a planet-wide biological computing system. In orbit, Science Director Zenri was pleased with the Whisper's progress. The integration rate exceeds our projections, Supreme Commander. Earth's biological diversity is actually accelerating our control process. Valthek watched the data streams with growing satisfaction. And the humans. They've noticed the behavioral changes as expected, but their primitive scanning technology can't detect the Whispers themselves. They're completely blind to the true nature of what's happening. But Valthek and Zenri had made a crucial mistake. While their technology was indeed far advanced, they had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, their ability to think laterally and collaborate across disciplines. In her lab, Sarah was working with an unlikely combination of experts. Dr. Rodriguez brought his quantum computing expertise, Dr. Emma Walsh contributed her knowledge of swarm intelligence, and Dr. James Chen, no relation, added his background in experimental physics. Look at this, Sarah said, pointing to a new data set. When we combine quantum field measurements with the neural pattern analysis, something interesting appears. The display showed a complex web of energy signatures connecting the affected animals. Dr. Walsh leaned in closer. These patterns, they're similar to what we see in quantum entanglement experiments, but on a biological scale. That should be impossible with current physics. Unless, Dr. Rodriguez interjected, we're not dealing with current physics. What if these creatures aren't just being controlled? What if they're being turned into components of a quantum biological computer? The implications hit Sarah like a thunderbolt. That's how they're coordinating on a global scale without any visible communication system. They're using quantum entanglement through biological matter. General Hayes, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. Can we use this information to fight back? Better, Sarah replied, her eyes lighting up with realization. We might be able to hack their network. Meanwhile, in a small farming community in Iowa, 12-year-old Amy Martins noticed something odd about her cat, Whiskers. The usually independent feline had started moving in perfect synchronization with every other cat in the neighborhood. When she posted a video online, it went viral within hours. Similar reports flooded in from around the world. In Tokyo, a massive flock of crows formed perfect geometric patterns in the sky. In the Amazon rainforest, jaguars were observed moving in military-like formations. The synchronicity event was becoming impossible to ignore. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, entire schools of fish began moving as single organisms, creating massive coordinated patterns that satellites could detect from space. Marine biologists reported that different species were starting to move in harmony, predator and prey alike, caught in the same mysterious choreography. Back at the GDI facility, Sarah's team made another breakthrough. Dr. Chen, James, had modified a quantum field detector to track the spread of the control network. It's like watching a neural network grow across the planet, he explained, showing the others a global map of the infection spread. But look here, Sarah pointed to anomalies in the pattern. Some areas are resisting the integration. We need to figure out why. As they dug deeper into the data, a pattern emerged. Certain electromagnetic frequencies seemed to disrupt the quantum connections. It wasn't much, but it was their first real lead on how to fight back. In orbit, Valthek received a concerning report. The humans are focusing significant research resources on the behavioral changes. An analyst reported. Their rate of investigation is unexpected. Zenri dismissed the concern. Let them study. By the time they understand what's happening, the network will be complete. Even if they discover the whispers now, they lack the technology to affect quantum-level biological engineering. But Sarah and her team were already proving that assumption wrong. In her lab, she stared at a microscope display showing something extraordinary. They had finally captured images of a whisper using a combination of quantum imaging and traditional electron microscopy. Beautiful, she whispered, looking at the crystalline structure that was redesigning Earth's biosphere. But now we can see you. We can fight you. As she prepared to share their findings with General Hayes, Sarah didn't know that humanity's first real counterstrike against the invasion was about to begin. The Xanthari were about to learn why underestimating human ingenuity was a deadly mistake. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the GDI's main control room, watching as cities around the world implemented the first phase of humanity's counterattack. The images streaming in from Tokyo showed massive electromagnetic pulse generators being installed on skyscrapers. In Rio de Janeiro, quantum field disruptors lined the beaches. London's ancient underground system had been converted into a network of quantum dampening stations. The synchronization rate among affected organisms has dropped by 12% in test areas. Dr. Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. The quantum disruption field is working, but the whispers are already attempting to adapt. General Hayes studied the global deployment map. How long until we have coverage in all major population centers? 72 hours, Sarah replied. But we're in a race against time. The whispers are evolving faster than we can deploy countermeasures. In orbit, the Xanthari observation vessel vibrated with Valthek's crystalline rage. Impossible. Their primitive technology shouldn't be able to detect the quantum network, let alone disrupt it. Zenri's typically confident demeanor had cracked. They're using a combination of technologies we didn't anticipate. They've somehow managed to merge quantum physics with biological scanning techniques in ways our models didn't predict. Fix it, Valthek commanded. Accelerate the integration process. Launch the second wave of whispers. But humanity had already prepared for this possibility. As new whispers entered the atmosphere, they encountered something unexpected. A layer of engineered bacteria released into the upper atmosphere, specifically designed to bind to the crystalline structures and render them inert. This breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. Dr. Emma Walsh had been experimenting with extremophile bacteria from deep-sea vents when she noticed something extraordinary. Certain strains naturally resisted the Whisper's control. Working with microbiologists worldwide, they had engineered a biological defense system in record time. "Look at this," Sarah called out, pointing to new data streaming in. The atmospheric bacteria were doing more than just neutralizing new Whispers. They were providing a real-time map of the invasion force's deployment patterns. "They're not just dropping them randomly," Dr. James Chen observed, studying the pattern. "There's a geometric precision to their deployment. They're trying to establish some kind of resonance pattern across the planet." In her private lab, Sarah made another breakthrough. Under a quantum microscope, she watched as a captured Whisper attempted to integrate with a cell sample. "Area, enhance section 47B, she commanded. The AI complied, revealing the precise mechanism of integration. "They're not just controlling biology," she whispered in awe. "They're trying to rewrite it. The entire invasion is an attempt to restructure Earth's biosphere into some kind of organic quantum computer." But this revelation gave Sarah an idea. If the Whispers were attempting to create a biological quantum network, perhaps humanity could hijack it. She quickly assembled her team. "We've been thinking about this wrong," she explained. "We shouldn't just be trying to stop the network. We should be trying to control it ourselves." Dr. Rodriguez's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. "You want to hack an alien quantum biological computer?" "Exactly," Sarah replied. "And I think I know how." Meanwhile, the Xanthari were facing their own crisis. The Whisper's integration rate had dropped by 40%, and the humans' countermeasures were becoming more effective by the hour. Worse, they were detecting strange anomalies in the quantum network, patterns that shouldn't exist. "They're not just blocking us," Zenri reported, their crystalline form vibrating with concern. "They're learning to manipulate the network. This is beyond their technological level. It should be impossible." Valthek's response was cut short by a new alarm. Across Earth, affected organisms were beginning to break free from Whisper control. But instead of returning to their natural behavior, they were forming new patterns controlled by human quantum interfaces. In the Amazon rainforest, jaguars that had been moving in military formations suddenly turned west, converging on hidden Whisper control nodes. In the Pacific, vast schools of fish created living sonar arrays, mapping the quantum network's underwater components. Birds that had been flying in alien geometries now formed aerial surveillance networks coordinated by human operators. Sarah stood in her lab, watching the quantum interface displays as humanity's control over the network expanded. They had done more than just stop the invasion. They had turned it into humanity's greatest technological leap forward. "Dr. Chen," General Hayes called from the doorway. "The Security Council is meeting in 10 minutes. They need to know our next steps. The Xanthari ship is still up there, and after this, they're not likely to just leave quietly." Sarah smiled, her eyes on the quantum network displays, showing humanity's growing mastery over the alien technology. "Tell them we're not just defending Earth anymore. We're about to take the fight to them." In orbit, Valthek received the final confirmation of their failure. The Whispers weren't just being defeated, they were being repurposed. Humanity had taken their weapon of conquest and turned it into something new, something unprecedented. "Impossible," he whispered, watching as Earth's biosphere became humanity's first line of defense. They had severely underestimated these primitive beings, and now they were about to learn the consequences of that mistake. The quantum display in GDI's central command showed Earth wreathed in a living network of light. What had started as an alien attempt to subjugate humanity had transformed into something unprecedented. A planetary defense system powered by the combined consciousness of Earth's biosphere. Dr. Sarah Chen watched as the network continued to evolve. The Whispers, now under human control, had become the foundation of a technological revolution. "We're ready for Phase 4, she announced to General Hayes and the assembled world leaders on the quantum-secured video conference. "The Xanthari vessel is still in orbit. Hayes reminded them. Our conventional weapons can't reach them behind the moon, but now we have something better. Sarah nodded, bringing up a new display. We've finished mapping their quantum communication network. The Whispers weren't just controlling Earth's creatures. They were sending data back to the ship. Now we can use that same network to send them a message of our own. In orbit, Valthek's command center erupted in chaos. Warning signals flashed across every display as their own quantum network began behaving in ways they had never seen before. Impossible, Zenri exclaimed, their crystalline form vibrating with distress. The humans aren't just blocking our control signals, they're sending new commands through our own network. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Whispers still in orbit began reorganizing themselves, forming new patterns that the Xanthari couldn't control. But Sarah and her team weren't interested in merely defending Earth anymore. Begin the upload, she commanded. Dr. Rodriguez initiated a sequence they had prepared for days. Through the quantum network, they began transmitting the sum of human scientific knowledge, art, literature, and philosophy directly into the Xanthari's data systems. Let them see who they're really dealing with, Sarah said, watching as the transmission progressed. Let them understand what happens when humanity is pushed to innovate. On the Xanthari vessel, Valthek watched in horror as human data poured through their quantum networks, overwhelming their security systems. But it wasn't an attack, it was an introduction. They're not just showing us their technology, Zenri realized, analyzing the data stream. They're showing us their potential, their adaptability, their creativity. The science director's crystalline form shimmed with what might have been admiration. In trying to conquer them, we gave them the keys to the galaxy. Back on Earth, the transformation continued. The quantum biological network had begun to stabilize, creating a symphony of consciousness that spanned the entire planet. Animals returned to their natural behaviors, but remained connected to the network, creating an early warning system that could detect any future threats to Earth's biosphere. In her lab, Sarah worked with a small group of scientists to understand the full implications of their achievement. We've done more than just stop an invasion, she explained to General Hayes. We've created something entirely new, a planetary consciousness that combines human intelligence with the natural wisdom of Earth's ecosystems. The general studied the displays showing the worldwide network. And the Xanthari. What's to stop them from simply attacking with conventional weapons? Sarah smiled. Watch this. She touched a control panel, and suddenly the quantum network shifted. All across Earth, birds took flight in perfect formation, sea life moved in coordinated patterns, and even microscopic organisms began working in harmony. The entire biosphere had become a unified defense system. We can now detect and respond to any threat, from microscopic to planetary scale, Sarah explained. The Xanthari gave us the tools to create the ultimate planetary defense system, one that's alive and constantly evolving. In orbit, Valthek received a transmission from the Xanthari High Council. They had reviewed the data from Earth and reached a stunning conclusion. The humans hadn't just defeated their invasion, they had proven themselves worthy of joining the galactic community. We came to conquer them, Zenri observed, watching the beautiful patterns of Earth's new biosphere defense network. Instead, they have taught us something about the true nature of advancement. Perhaps it's not the technology that matters most, but the creativity to use it in ways no one has imagined before. As Sarah looked at the quantum displays showing Earth's transformed biosphere, she reflected on how far they had come. In just a few months, humanity had gone from being potential victims to pioneers of a new form of planetary consciousness. The Whispers, intended as tools of conquest, had instead become the bridge to humanity's next great leap forward. Dr. Chen, General Hayes called out, "We're receiving a new transmission from the Xanthari vessel. They're requesting diplomatic contact." Sarah smiled. The invasion had failed, but something far more interesting was about to begin. Humanity wasn't just ready to join the galactic community. They were about to show the galaxy a whole new way of thinking about the relationship between technology and life itself. 1 year after the failed Whisper invasion, Earth had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The quantum biological network that the Xanthari had intended as a weapon of conquest had instead become the foundation of a new era in human civilization. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva, watching as representatives from 12 different alien species gathered for the first official meeting of the Interstellar Scientific Council. The quantum displays showed Earth's transformed biosphere, now a marvel that attracted researchers from across the galaxy. "They still can't quite believe what we've done," Dr. Rodriguez commented, standing beside her. The quantum biological network had evolved far beyond its original design, becoming something the galaxy had never seen before, a perfect fusion of technology and nature. Through the embassy's massive windows, they could see the effects of their work. Birds flew in natural patterns, but each was connected to a vast planetary defense network more sophisticated than anything that Xanthari had imagined. The oceans teemed with life that doubled as early warning systems. Even the smallest insects contributed to a planetary consciousness that had made Earth the most secure and advanced biosphere in known space. The latest data from the quantum network is remarkable. Former science director Zendri said, "Their crystalline form now modified to better interact with humans." After the failed invasion, they had requested permission to stay on Earth as a scientific liaison. "You haven't just replicated our technology. You've completely reinvented it." Sarah nodded, pulling up a holographic display of the global network. "We realized that the Whisper's original design was too rigid, too focused on control. By allowing the network to evolve naturally with Earth's ecosystems, we created something far more powerful, a true symphony of life and technology." The implications went far beyond defense. Earth's transformed biosphere had solved environmental problems that had plagued humanity for centuries. The quantum network allowed for perfect coordination between human needs and natural systems. Pollution disappeared as engineered microorganisms, connected to the network, transformed waste into resources. Climate control became possible through the coordinated action of trillions of organisms working in harmony. In orbit, the former invasion fleet had been transformed into a research station. Valthek, stripped of his military command, now served as an advisor to the Earth Defense Council. "We came to conquer," he admitted to General Hayes during one of their regular meetings, "but instead, you showed us a whole new way of thinking about advancement." The general smiled, remembering how close they had come to disaster. "Sometimes the best defense isn't about having the biggest weapons," she replied. "It's about being able to turn your enemy's strength into your own." Back in her lab at GDI headquarters, Sarah worked with a team of human and alien scientists on the next phase of development. The quantum biological network had opened up possibilities that neither humans nor Xanthari had imagined possible. "We're ready to begin the Jupiter project," she announced to the assembled researchers. The displays showed their most ambitious plan yet, extending Earth's quantum biological network to terraform other planets in the solar system. "Using modified versions of the Whispers, we can create sustainable biospheres on other worlds," she explained. "Not as weapons of control, but as tools of creation." The implications weren't lost on anyone. Humanity had taken a technology designed to enslave them and transformed it into something that could help them spread life throughout the galaxy. In the aftermath of the invasion attempt, the galaxy had learned several crucial lessons. The Xanthari Collective, once focused solely on conquest, had been forced to reevaluate their entire approach to advancement. Other species, watching Earth's transformation, began exploring their own biological quantum technologies in new ways. But perhaps the most important change was in humanity itself. The quantum biological network had given them a new understanding of their place in the universe. They were no longer just inhabitants of Earth. They had become custodians of a new form of life, one that merged the best of technology and nature. "We have a transmission from the Andromeda Alliance," Dr. Rodriguez announced, breaking Sarah from her thoughts. They're requesting our help in developing their own planetary defense network. Sarah smiled, remembering how far they'd come from those first terrifying days of the invasion. "Tell them we'll be happy to assist," she replied. "But remind them, this isn't just about defense anymore. It's about evolution." As she looked out over the transformed Earth, Sarah reflected on the irony of it all. The Xanthari had come to conquer a world they thought was primitive and vulnerable. Instead, they had become witnesses to humanity's greatest triumph, the moment when humanity proved that the best response to aggression wasn't just resistance, but transformation. The quantum biological network pulsed with life, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptability. In trying to conquer Earth, the Xanthari had instead given humanity the keys to the stars. And now, as Earth took its place among the galactic civilizations, one thing had become clear to everyone in the galaxy. Underestimating humans was indeed the greatest mistake anyone could make.